I'm Dushan I worked intermittently for the Student Conservation Association, which is part of AmeriCorps. What I was doing was trail restoration and trail construction, and for that I basically spent all of 8 months and then 4 months camping in national forest and public lands in the Mojave Desert and the Pacific Northwest. Both were arid climates, and so any weather that comes through obviously influences my work pretty heavily. A lot of the time I was basically doing landscaping, and so any rain would wash out what I did, or dry weather would change the plant life that was around me. And so basically what I noticed the most about irregular weather patterns was like lots of little things. The first day I was in the desert camping, it rained, which was pretty unusual, especially for the season. And a lot of the times when it rained, you expect to see desert flowers come up afterwards, but there wasn't a whole lot of that. You also got a lot of wildfires that would happen from dry seasons, and so you would end up burning out all the indigenous species, and invasive species would come in and grow pretty quickly after that and really take away the resources from the indigenous species. And so part of our job was to try to fight that. It's hard to see a lot of the long-term changes because I didn't spend, lifetimes in different places, but talking to people who did live in the areas, there was a lot of talk of, when I was in the Pacific Northwest specifically, there were a lot of talks of creeks drying up, creeks and rivers that used to be pretty healthy and strong flow, where some just completely disappeared at that point, were just dry beds. In the desert, again, it was mostly an issue of areas getting denuded or invasive species coming in. So even just driving around, you can see entire mountainsides that look very much out of place because they're yellow instead of the usual green bushes and stuff. It's all just grass that just comes in and takes over entire hillsides after burns come through. And burns are kind of normal for the desert, but these invasive species are not. And so they come in after burns, and they're the easiest to regrow at first, so they suck up all the resources that other plants would normally use. Whether or not it's because of global warming is kind of dubious question, but it seems very clear that all of these irregularities are due to human activity. I guess part of that would be what I was doing there, which is environmental restoration. We can get volunteer programs like SCA, which has been around for 50 years, and get students to volunteer for programs to kind of try to reverse the human impact. You can also have these students do education programs, which is something that we did, which teaches environmental conservation. Once you get a higher expectation of the layman's understanding of the environment will improve in those areas. People will use their resources more sparingly or more efficiently. People will make better choices. I think the best thing that can be done is increase our understanding of the environment and make our decisions accordingly.